Hi, everybody. Welcome to DiscoverCollegeSoccer.com. I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Kanute Drugan from UT Dallas. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you for asking me on, Matt. I look forward to the session today.
Yeah, me too. It's been a little bit since I've been to Dallas, but always enjoy myself when I go out that way. Um, so let's kick it off by starting talking about your recruiting efforts. So when do you usually start hearing from players and going out and watching players in terms of like what year are they in high school?
So we're starting to identify girls when they're in their sophomore year of high school. We may or may not be reaching out to them, but when we are at a showcase or a tournament or whatever it might be, if a sophomore is catching our eye, we're making note of that and identifying them as a potential for, uh, in a short while, we'll start to reach out to them. Largely what happens is, like, for example, right now we're bringing in the 2022 class. Well, we've been done with that class for quite a while. So where our focus is largely now is on the 2023s. Where the 2022s are is we are helping them through the processes of matriculation. So we've helped them with the application process. Hey, here's the deadlines. Here's things you need to know. Here's things that you want to do. And then once admitted, okay, now that you're admitted, here's what's going to happen next. You're going to get housing's going to contact you, and they're going to be wanting this done by these deadlines. And so we're processing the 2022s all the way to matriculation. But where we are is we're in deep with the 2023s. We probably saw them play when they were sophomores. We saw them again as juniors. We might have seen them a couple of times. And we've been in both phone and email communication and text messaging as well. So that's where our interest is. In the meantime, the 24s, the sophomores, are emerging, and some of those that we identified, we've had maybe an initial conversation after a game, or we've had a initial conversation via email, and there's been an exchange that way, and now it's starting to move forward behind this 2023 junior class. Occasionally, we will make note of that 2025 girl too that stands out maybe too, but she's still going to follow the process like that. So you're focused on the junior class. You're starting to bring in the introductory level of recruiting the sophomore class.
Okay. So how many inbound contacts do you think you get a week or a month from potential players?
I've had days where I've had over 100 contacts in a day.
Wow.
Yeah, let alone a week or a month.
Yeah.
On an average, we hear from about maybe 3 dozen, about 30, let's say 36 a day on an average.
Wow.
And that doesn't count all the other email I have to deal with every day.
Right.
Like
right.
me exchanging email and
and
things like that.
Sure.
Yeah, that's just recruiting.
Yeah, that's.
But we're a larger volume, I think, for a couple of reasons. One is I've been a head coach for 27 years in the NCAA. So a lot of pipelines out there from club coaches and high school coaches and that sort of thing. A lot of reputation with girls that have came out of those clubs that these other girls know, and that sort of thing. That's one thing. Another thing is our success. We have 5 of the last 6 years, we've been nationally ranked in the top 24 or higher, 15th to 24 in the last 5 out of 6 years. So that also gets people's attention and generates a higher volume.
Sure.
And then we're an internationally acclaimed, prestigious academic school, so we get a lot of international people reaching out to us as well. They don't matriculate very often, but they're still, reaching out to see what they can get.
Sure. What are some of the things you like to see in that first communication from a prospect?
Confidence in her email.
Mm-hmm.
she's given some thought to this. She's realizing that what this is an introduction. I'm introducing myself. So much in the same way as you would walk on stage and make a speech, you want to introduce yourself, or maybe somebody take care of that for you. Or today, me introducing myself here now, that kind of thing. So let me know what high school you go to, what club team you're playing on, what level that is, ECNL, GA, whatever it might be. What's your number, and then what are the strong suits that you see in yourself that makes you valuable to a college program? And then academically, what's your interest there, and what is your accomplishments there? And that's probably four sentence paragraphs, maybe,
Mhm.
maybe not even. And then anything else you think is important to you for me to know.
And then do you like to see a highlight clip in that first email?
Yeah, that's really helpful. If I don't get one, here's another thing that slows me down during the day and the
Right.
evening is I'm going to start right now. If you've caught my attention with that introductory email, I'm going to start right now researching you. I'm going to be reaching out to people. I'm going to be hunting down video. I'm going to be getting video from opponents. In the initial reaching out, when I'm doing research on you, I'm not contacting your coach just yet, because you either put that in your email or you didn't. And if you didn't, I'm not going to. And if you did, I'll get to it later. But I want to know what your opponents think about you.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. What so I'm sure that that number of emails ticks up as you get closer to a showcase or a big tournament or something. Um,
Yes.
so what are the tournaments and showcases? What are the ones that are kind of, we're definitely going to see you on the sidelines watching games. Do you take in any high school games? Like, what's your main focus when you're out and about recruiting?
Well, I'll hit that last one first.
Okay.
I'm a rare breed anymore. Not too many college coaches go to high school games. There are a few scattered around the country. I still do. And I'm fortunate here in the Dallas area. When I was coaching up in the Chicago area, out on the East Coast, and out in the West Coast in LA, San Diego area, there's a tremendous amount of really good high school soccer. So to leave that out of the equation is, I think I'm not getting a full picture. So that said, we definitely are going to go to high school games, but there's a rhythm to uh, a calendar rhythm to where we are going and when that happens. Like, for example, I know we're probably likely to be in Florida in December, but also here in Texas, there's some big ones. Then I know in February, we're looking at probably being in Arizona. I'm going out to the high school scene in Southern California in that last week of January, early February, maybe. The next step is the biggest one, there's going to be over 500 college coaches there, will be Las Vegas in March at the Player Showcase. From there, I know in April, I'm going to be in Indianapolis, Crossroads. In May, there's state cups and things like that are happening in our state and several other states. So a little less on the showcase side, a little bit more that way. In June, we're where we are in June. Lost my train of thought.
That's all right.
Uh,
Lots of places to go.
yeah, July is in Illinois and Chicago, and then August starts season again, and you're done until roughly December.
Yeah, well, but for a D3 program, that's a pretty wide swath you're covering. I mean, that's a nice bit of recruiting travel that you get to do.
Well, I've always had a nationally recruited team. I believe if it's certainly possible to win a national championship with the best people from your state, wherever your state is. That's possible, but it's a national championship, and so you better have people, beyond what you can get in your own state. And I'm from a roster standpoint, we are somewhere between 55 and 60% out of state,
Oh, okay.
and 40 to 45% in state.
So with that said, is there a set number of players you try to bring in every year, or does it just kind of ebb and flow with how many you're graduating?
Yeah, the graduation number has a lot to do with that, but then also strengthening ourselves or getting a little bit more depth in a particular position might add a number or two people maybe to that number that's graduating. I'd say if I had an average over the years, maybe over 27 years, that might average out to 9 girls a
Okay.
year,
Yeah,
like that.
so that makes sense. Um, what in terms of when you're recruiting and you're looking at both on the field aspects and off the field aspects, what is your personal kind of hierarchy? Are you looking for, I want to make sure they're just a great athlete. I'm looking for the highest soccer IQ, or and then on the off field stuff, are you what's your focus? The grades, the how they behave, those types of things.
It'll be different depending on who those 6 or 9 girls are, that what positions they play maybe. But generally speaking, we are always a very fast team. So speed is something that's important to us. Um, certainly quickness and agility just to go with speed. I mean, if you got straight ahead speed, that's maybe good for track, but not going to help us much in soccer.
Right.
So we're looking at athleticism right there next to it, and probably equally. It's probably two equal number one factors. How athletic are you, and how fast are you is a big deal. Secondly, actually this would be third, but I count that as a tie. Next, we would be looking at their ball skill, their technical ability, especially on the finishing end and on the servicing end. If you're a back getting up in the attack, for example, your technical ability to be involved that way. Third, your possession of, or again, I'm one behind, but fourth, your possession ability. We are a possession-oriented team, even with that speed, but we want to play to feed mostly. That's not to say we won't play direct, but mostly indirect, and 1 and 2 touch, maybe 3 touch if it's necessary, but we're moving the ball and we're trying to do that not back to front, but dynamically as we move up.
Okay.
So those things, and then obviously you mentioned IQ. That has to be part of all of that.
Right.
And I'd say that's probably the top 5 right there.
Okay. Um, what about transfers and walk-ons? How do they kind of fit into the equation in your recruiting and team building?
I don't go out to recruit transfers, but they do happen for us. And again, one of the reasons is 27 years, I know a lot of coaches, and there's girls that are going to leave a program because of this or that. And coaches will reach out to me and say, hey, here's a girl probably fits you. Girls themselves will reach out. I've got a girl right now that's a D1 transfer that she reached out to us. She was a starter at the D1 level too. But I'm not out hunting them down and pursuing them. I want to be faithful to the girls we recruited. I want that to be who our program represents, a recruited team. And then transfers, we're much more diligent about researching them. And just because you have a good resume at D1 or something like that, that may not be a fit for us necessarily. So on the walk-on standpoint, we try to avoid that uh, because it's a lot of demand in college. And so to walk on and not get the same opportunity as everybody else, not get to travel, maybe not ever play in a game, or if you did, not very many minutes, and certainly a handful of games at the most, probably less. You don't get to fully participate in practice. Some days you do, some days you don't.
Yeah.
And so we're not encouraging walk-ons. In fact, we try to discourage them, but they're at our school being, highly prestigious academically. There's just some girls that, hey, I'm going to be there at school and I'm not giving up soccer, so I will walk on. And okay, God bless you. God bless you. I'm going to embrace that and welcome you on board.
Yeah.
But the same things I'm sharing with you, Matt, we will have shared that with her and her parents at least once, probably more so.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, so let's shift gears and talk about the school. You mentioned it, it's academic prestige. One of the things we want to try to do here with these interviews is get past the just what I'd learn on a website, right? So what are some of the highlights, the top things your school is most known for that maybe, I'm not gonna know about just going to your website?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have a reputation in quite a few things, so there's a lot that you might not recognize. But for example, speech pathology, our speech
Oh,
pathology department
okay.
is number two in the nation academically. And of the four different programs you can go into, we're ranked somewhere between second and fourth in all of them, I believe. I'm
Wow.
not sure about the fourth one, maybe not. At least three of them.
Yeah.
Um, so you wouldn't know that. And then everybody has a good business school, right? But what most people don't know is that our MBA and our we call it School of Management is ranked in the top 10 in the nation, number 10 specifically. That puts us up there with schools like Northwestern, Notre Dame, University of Chicago, schools of that ilk. Um, we're half of my, or no, a third of my roster's here for something in the health sciences,
Hmm.
whether that's pre-med, pre-dental, pre-veterinary, pre-physical therapy, and anything really with biology and or chemistry as a core, we're going to be substantially uh, fit for you if you want to get onto a better career. And we're going to be pretty highly nationally ranked. Engineering, we're all of our engineering degrees are our weakest engineering degree is 37th in the nation, and the rest are better than that. And that's out of nearly 5,000 four-year colleges and universities in America.
Wow.
Uh, Sciences, technology. Uh, Here's another one most people won't know about is animation and things
Hmm.
that go and other careers that are related to that. We have one of the top two animation programs in America. Our animation labs are unbelievable. I've had girls walk out of my program right into Pixar, right into Disney. Uh, the third one, I want to say DreamWorks, but don't hold me to that.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
that's awesome.
Places like that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 100 and I think it's 144 majors, so that's a few.
Yeah.
I'm
There's
only
this is something for everybody, right?
yeah, that's only a few of them right there.
Well, speaking academics, what support mechanisms does your school have, both whether that they're school wide or just for athletes, and how does that help the students balance their school and sport commitments?
That's one of the things strong points I try to share with parents, especially, and the student themselves too. But again, 27 years, coast to coast, been played everywhere. You hear all these things from your colleagues. You share things with your colleagues, coaching colleagues. And I have never witnessed a place that offers so many resources as this place does. I've been at other high academic schools. I've been at one that was higher ranked academically than this one, but didn't have the resources to offer kids the way this place does. And so if whatever your need is, if we can't fulfill it, then we will hire a professional from outside the campus to fulfill it for you. So um, it whatever your need is, it will get fulfilled.
That's awesome. So, well, let's look at a typical game day, or even a typical non-game day. What does that day look like for a player in terms of the hours and how it all fits together?
So on a non-game day, what we're asking for is an hour and 30 minutes of your time. The actual practice session is going to be an hour 15. Given warm up and cool down, you're there for about an hour and a half. Now, girls will stay after practice and shoot or this or that and that sort of thing, but that's voluntary. They do it on their own. I don't mention it. It's day to day. Different people do that because they take that kind of pride in who they are and how they want to perform. But on a non-game day, you're looking at about an hour and a half. On a game day, let's say it's a 5 o'clock kickoff here at home, um, you're going to have to be out of class by 2 o'clock because we feed you on game day before the game. Then you have treatment maybe or rehab to go through before the game. Then it's get your equipment, your uniforms, things like that. It'll be hanging up in the locker room, kind of like behind you there. Um, uh, and then we're going into a pregame team meeting where we're going to go through the scouting report. We have a 3-page scouting report every game in writing. You will have received that a day or two before the game at practice. So you've already reviewed that. And in pregame, we're going to take about 20 minutes to go through that again. We're also going through it in practice. You know,
Yeah.
You get to read it and take it home and to your dorm room and whatever, and then we're going to do this again in practice and then again at this meeting. The first page is about the opponent, what we're expecting from them. Second page is our game plan for today. And that third page is the depth chart and who's starting at what positions and who's subbing in behind and when. And you already know, so you can get mentally prepared just about every possibility that you're going to face.
Wow, that's awesome.
So that then takes you out to pregame warmup
Yeah.
and then the game itself. And so you started at 2:00. That game's going to get over about 7. And really, by the time you get out of that uniform and get back to where you're going, you probably got 5.5 hours in your day on a home game.
That makes sense. Well, let's talk about road games for a minute. How far do you guys usually travel? What's your kind of radius of games, and how does that kind of get mixed in everything?
Well, we'll play teams from coast to coast because we're nationally ranked. We need to play before our conference games begin. In that run up to there, that 2 or 3 weeks, we need to play nationally prominent people, hopefully teams that were in the NCAA tournament last year and now we're playing them this year, that sort of thing, or maybe they were in a couple of years ago, but teams of that reputation. So, for example, this year we're going to play a team from Iowa, we're going to play a team from California, we're going to Arkansas. I'm leaving some out, but
Wow, yeah.
generally speaking, from coast to coast.
Wow, that's impressive. So let's talk a little bit more specifically then about the team. If you're an incoming first year player, what should I expect to be sitting till I'm a junior? Am I fighting for a spot? Do you guys have a JV reserve team? Like how does that work if I'm a first year player for you guys?
At another school, I did have a JV reserve team, and they would have a separate schedule. In the last 2 schools I've been at, I haven't done that. Just change in philosophy is all.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're coming here, you're going to play. If I'm recruiting you, you're going to play. Because how are you going to get any better if you don't play? If all you're doing is in practice. So I've witnessed, and again, in my 27 years, I've witnessed a lot of different styles from coaches. There's a lot of coaches, especially in high school, but a lot of coaches in college that if they're going to play their seniors. And if you're a freshman, you're not going to get that opportunity. Well, in my time, I've never had a year where 0 freshmen started. I've never had a year where 1 freshman started. It's always been 2 or more. And in 2015, I had 8 freshmen start.
Wow.
And 2 other years I had 5. But usually it's 2, maybe 3. Occasionally there's been 4, but 2 or 3 freshmen crack that starting lineup. So the other philosophy I have is NCAA rules, substitution rules, limit you what you can do unless you have depth. So a lot of college coaches are going to play 14 girls, field girls, plus the goalkeeper. We don't do that. We're playing 20 every half.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm recruiting 2 starters at every position. So 2 left forwards that can start for us, 2 right backs that can start for us, that sort of thing, and at every position. And the reason for that is you might be as good as we are with your girl that you started, but she is not going to handle 2 of us that are starters coming at you back to back. So we tend to win games at the end of the half and win games at the end of the game because you're not going to handle us that long.
Yeah. So if you're playing 20, how many are you carrying usually on a roster?
An ideal number for us is somewhere around 27 to 30.
Okay.
Now when I'm playing 20, that's field players, right?
Yeah, sure.
I still have goalkeepers beyond that. Excuse me. There are usually another 4 field players that are going to play not every game. We're still developing them. They might be younger, maybe sophomores, freshmen, but they're going to get in too because of the same philosophy as that. How you going? So we're going to, because we are going to overwhelm opponents with our depth. That creates opportunity for more girls to get on the field, and late in half or late in the game. They're not going to get as many minutes, but they're going to get that opportunity because you're just one rolled ankle or one concussion away from needing that girl to be that second girl or even that first girl.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, we talked about how big your team is. Let's talk about how big your staff is. You know, how many other coaches do you have? What are their roles on the squad?
Well, normally I'm going to carry a coach who's responsible for goalkeepers, another one that's responsible for our defenders, another one that's responsible for our midfielders, and another one that's responsible for our forwards. And so what we do in practice is it's not every day, but most days we have a session that we call position breakdown, and that could be anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. We will have determined that in the practice plans. So whether it's whatever it is, let's say it's 20 minutes today, then the forwards coach is with her group of girls, the goalkeepers with his, isolated and just in that group working on things that are going to just be of a benefit to that position. Then from that, we would then probably come out into some small-sided thing and then build that into a larger field environment on whatever we worked on, bringing that all now completely together.
Okay. Now, you know, you and I are talking in February here. So what does your team's off-season program look like?
Oh, good question. So when we come back in January, which is usually that day after Martin Luther King Day, so
Mm-hmm.
second or third Monday or Tuesday, I guess. Whenever we come back, they have that first week to get everything in order, you know, get your life back in order after being away for 5 weeks. We get a 5-week break here, 4 to 5 weeks, depending on the year. And once that week's out of the way, then we're 2 days a week, we're going to be in the strength facility, working on things like that and things related to strength, core development, single leg development, things like that, in addition to strength. Then the other 2 days a week, we're out on the field, and we can do that in January and February here in Texas, you know, because it's going to be in the 60s and 70s, 50s, something like that. And those days, we're working on building a better athlete. We're working on athleticism, and that's going to be agility and footwork and change of direction and multi-directional movement and a whole lot of balance, you know, a whole lot of things that go into building a better athlete. Because what we're trying to put on the field is the best soccer girls we can accumulate through recruiting and then make them become the best athletes they can be with what God has blessed them with, and then put depth in behind that, and then let's go out and put the ball on the mark and let's kick it off and play.
Great. Well, we're at the end. I got one last question for you. This is kind of my catch-all question. You know, what else would you like prospects, parents, anybody else to know about your team, your school, that maybe we didn't get a chance to cover?
Well, I think one of the secrets to our success over 27 years has been the quality of the young woman we bring to our program. A lot of people wouldn't understand that part of that research I referred to earlier, when I'm going to go out and research you, I'm out partly to find out what kind of a human being you are. And then that on-campus interview becomes pretty important for me too, on that visit as we're going around and seeing facilities and spending time in my office and maybe having a meal together and things like that, just getting a feel for who you are. So the young woman, I already, if you're coming to campus for a visit, I already know you're going to be able to handle it academically and athletically. Now I need to know that you're going to handle it so socially, because we have a culture. It is a well-defined culture that is clearly expressed about expectations and standards. And I find that if we can find the first class, well, I'll take a pass on a girl at your position that's better than you and always will be better than you if you are close to her and you're going to fit into our culture. Because over time, in 27 years, this has clearly repeated itself over time. Your character is going to be revealed under pressure, because in college, there's going to be academic pressure like you haven't seen before. There's going to be athletic pressure like you haven't seen before, because every girl on our team was a starter on her team in high school and club.
Yeah.
You know, everybody was a stud. So there's going to be pressure there. There's going to be pressure socially. This is a whole new world. It's not like high school. You're not sleeping at home. You're living in a dorm or apartment or whatever you're doing. There's going to be pressure of all natures and kinds. So pressure is going to reveal character, and it's either going to reveal it in a good way or a bad way. I want for our girls to always be able to be proud of themselves and hold their head high and know that whatever pressures they're facing, they're well equipped.
No, that's great. Well, I was checking out your bio and realized I knew I was going to like you right away, Coach, because you're a fellow Bobcat. Uh,
Oh, yeah. Are you a
yeah.
Bobcat?
Yes,
Oh, my boy.
I went to Ohio University for grad school, so I
Yeah.
spent a couple of years walking up and down Court Street myself. So I see that you were just going to be a good guy just from that aspect. So I was proven right. So I really appreciate the time, Coach. Glad you could join us, and wish you the best of luck in the upcoming fall season, and hopefully we'll get a chance to cross paths in person sometime as well.
Hey, if this is the experience that everybody gets, I wanted to say to your audience out there, tune into this guy. I've been interviewed hundreds of times in my career on TV and everything. This is first class. You're going to learn a lot. Tune into Matt Bear and discover college soccer.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the plug. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye, Matt.
Take care.